Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening, wherever you are. My name is Judy Matejczyk, Life Mastery Consultant and world class paradigm shifter. Yes, and it is Transformation Tuesday. We've been coming to you live every Tuesday with guest speakers on these topics that need to be discussed since March of 2020. So let's take a deep breath in this beautiful October 28th, 2025. Yes, and we are growing. Who are we anyway? Our paradigm shifters. We are a growing global community dedicated to shift and uplift the planet. Yes, so in October 2025, this actually is the final Tuesday in October. And we've been having speakers come in and talking about this topic of falling upward. Hmm, falling upward. And today I want to bring you something that came from my meditation group this morning, and it is so perfect. Falling upward, honoring our rage, honoring our rage. So I want to start out with this quote by Richard Rohr. And it's called a healing rage. When we bottle up our rage, it can go in two different places. One is to go inward, and that leads to all sorts of damage it can wreak inside of our nervous system, our psychological health, and our spiritual health. We're basically severing ourselves off from parts of our own hearts, and we can make ourselves sick. Bring to mind like something you're angry and raging at, or it may be in the past where that feeling of like, oh, bottling itself up. And we really can make ourselves sick. Now, the other direction for anger and rage is it can go out to explode, causing harm, creating violence. And that rage that drives the hatred and the cruelty. Now we only have to look at the headlines to see what kind of world that creates. So my invitation for you today as we go through this is to honor our rage, to name it, and to find safe containers to process it because it's also a way that we love ourselves. Let me repeat that. Honoring our rage and name it, find those safe containers to process it because it's a way that we honor and love ourselves. Even in the hardest, potentially most shameful parts of ourselves, have the potential to give us insight for healing, growth, and transformation. The more we're able to build our capacity to love all parts of ourselves, the deeper our capacity to love all parts of this world around us, the beloved within and without. So, this is a shift in consciousness and the culture that I believe we so desperately need in order to birth this new loving world, a way of seeing, a way of being that leaves no one outside of our circle of care. What we need is a revolution of the heart. That's why I believe revolutionary love is the call of our times. So I want to talk today about honoring our rage, embracing the power within. Let's take a few minutes. Take a deep breath in and out. So let me share a little brief personal story about this that a bottled up rage. So when I was 5, my mom took me to the Erie Zoo. And for some reason, it was just my mom and I could. And I went and I saw my very first elephant. It was huge, and it was in a cage, and a cage that had bars around it, and it was all dirty and dank and very smelly. And I looked straight into her eye and saw this sadness about being confined and encaged. And it stuck with me my entire life. And there was something within me that was changed then. And I grew up loving elephants, knowing I was gonna when I was little, I was like, would say I was gonna have, I knew I would have a pet elephant that would stay underneath my bed. And everybody laughed at me, but I dreamt of elephants. I dreamt of their strength and their love and Dumbo was my favorite movie. And so I kept growing, and then you grow into, your teenage years. You forget that, except in my dreams. So as I grew older and older and older, you have the kids, you have the families, you have the fear of people, this, and knowing that there's a power within that's stronger. I had no idea. So I was at a an event of an event, even like it was 2 months ago, where I was asked a question. So I'm going to ask you this question today. At the end of your life, what are you going to look back on and regret that you never accomplished or did? We're all going to have a beginning. We have a beginning with our first breath on this human timeline. And we know inevitably there's going to be a last breath. So imagine yourself, you're taking that last breath, and you look back in your life. What is there a regret that you've never done, or you've never felt you that the difference you were supposed to make, but you didn't do it because life got in the way? Well, I immediately knew it was to go work with the elephants. And I knew immediately what it was. And it's not that I'm getting any closer to that end, but there is this thing called the fourth quarter of your life. So I got on, I booked this elephant experience in the hill country, and I went out with on this preserve to conserve the elephants. And I went out for a day, and I started to cry on the way there because I was finally going to meet that part of me that was yearning to touch, feel, and hug and love on elephants. So I got there, and I was in a trance the whole time. But we bathed the elephants. We, scrubbed them down. You could tell they were just like, oh yeah, this feels so good. And honoring and learning about all these people who had spent their entire lives caring for elephants. And as I was reflecting on that, I was these elephants on the preserve, they're very, very well cared for and loved. How much they have had to trust our humans that we were going to love and care for them when they've been being destroyed for their ivory, poachers, and everything for so many years. So it was a dream achieved moment, hugging and loving, but it also healed something within me that and gave me direction to talk. And I have no idea, it just happened. So we'll see where this ends. So honoring our rage, honoring our faith. Let me go in and define this rage, this anger. It's a powerful emotion, often linked to feelings of injustice betrayal, or frustration. Now, the common perception of rage is negative or something to suppress. So there's this evolutionary perspective of it as a protective mechanism that signals when something is wrong. So for most of my life, when there was something that was raging or people were angry, I would back off, you know, peace, love. And now I'm finding that the consequences of ignoring rage are there's emotional consequences. It can lead to emotional numbness, anxiety, and depression. Suppressing it, stress related illnesses, tensions in your body, bottled up emotions can lead to chronic pain or health issues. So, unaddressed rage can affect relationships, can affect misunderstandings, conflict, and distance. Communication breakdowns can occur when feelings of anger or are ignored. So, here's the power of honoring the rage. So, I encourage you to reflect on your own experience with rage, with angers. I'm going to reflect there. And recognizing that this anger and rage is a valid emotion that deserves attention. So there's some methods for honoring it in constructive ways. One of the ways that I feel when I get into that are journaling, picking up a pen, journaling, getting all your feelings out from in here to on paper. Inevitably, I can't read it when I'm done, but I've got it out. There's also for me too physical activity. I can go on a walk. Boy, there's nothing like for me when I'm feeling bottled up to take myself out in nature and just walk like crazy and breathe. There's something called this deep breath where we're going from this fight, flight, freeze part of our there, taking a deep breath in, release as if from a straw, release, where you're changing your energy from fight, flight, freeze to create rest, digest, and create. You're telling your body that it's okay, putting your hand on your heart. Yes. All right. And then walking out in nature. So there's a there is this gold nugget. So I want to encourage you, for one, to embrace all of your emotions. Inevitably, that fear and anger is really a deep down fear, a fear that you're not going to be safe. What if you knew that when we look at embrace it, knowing that we are safe and that it is a form of empowerment. So I want to tell a story that one of my mentors told me about her son who was going to school, and the teacher was so angry, and the angry was directed like to the class, and he did not understand it, and how she would say these mean things to the kids. And being a teacher that I was in the special ed classroom, I would sometimes not take care of myself, and I would like get so pent up for they don't understand. I said it 10 million times. I would get rageful. Well, this teacher was like that, and her son came home and talked to her mom, my mentor, his mom, my mentor, and she could have gone in and addressed the teacher and gone to the principal and everything, but she decided that this was the good news. Inevitably, when any of this stuff comes up, it is the good news because it is on the green growing edge of your next becoming. Your next becoming is very powerful as a spiritual being, becoming compassionate. So now he went in and inevitably, found out, this the teacher had just uh was in the middle of suffering or grief of a loss. And anyway, she decided to let him deal with it. And there's sometimes in our programs that we say we put on this energy bubble of protection. Um, and I used to do that sometimes too, like protecting myself from all the negativity that's around me so that it wouldn't get into me. And then my mentor very wisely said, let's change that. Let's shift that perception. What if we didn't feel the need to protect ourselves? Need is a feeling of lack. What if we claimed ourselves to be total creation of love energy? Take a deep breath in. Maybe this is a new concept. Put yourself in your heart and knowing that love is much more powerful than fear or rage. Takes a lot of practice here. So, what he did, he came home and he said, um, I have to make sure I get this right. He said, oh, he was all excited because he went in and he said to his mom, you know, teacher was angry at me again today, and everything else, but something magical happened. When I saw her words coming in, this angriness, they bounced off the bubble and they changed into love and bounced right back into her. He was so full of love in his heart for everyone around him that it wasn't a protective, protecting from the outside world. It was a shooting out from that love energy inside. And those words changed from hate and fear and rage, bounce back into love. Now, she hadn't changed, but he claimed that power within him that changed. So, what if today, October, end of October, we've been talking all month about falling upward? What if this was your opportunity to embrace the rage, embrace the fear, um, and knowing, and I want to end with this quote, knowing that our anger and fears are not to be suppressed, but embraced. For in their rawness lies the path to understanding and the potential for this love to emerge. What if? What if? So, my challenge, my call to action for you is go out into this day. And when the fears and the rage. It might seem, boy, with the weather in Jamaica, with anything, what if, the weather's raging, the government's raging? What if we saw that from our perspective, our elephant's heart? Boy, they are huge too. And we went into our inner huge heart, our inner elephant's heart, gave ourselves a hug first, knowing that we have a courage, it takes courage to change. Yeah, courage to change. We took a deep breath in, closed our eyes, and we shot out this loving energy to ourselves first and to the world. So we're wrapping up October, falling upward. And my encouragement is to dream big of a world full of this love energy. Take action in your little world today, in your family today. Because the Course in Miracles says every act is either a call for love or an act of love. What if we saw a call for loves all over our day today? And we change them into act of love, act of compassion for yourself and the world. That is the true meaning of Transformation Tuesday. And the reason that we come together on these Tuesdays to shift and uplift the planet and the universe, and by starting with ourselves. This is Judy Matejczyk, Life Mastery Consultant, seeing you in total love today.